Hi there, Stuart here,
Hey, it's Sina here.
and welcome to the Wellbeing Elixir.
In today's aliquot and experiment, we're going to be talking to you about grounding technique.
And you may be wondering, what's an aliquot? Well, an aliquot is something taken from a larger whole. It's a small sample.
And before we end our time together, we're going to share an experiment with you to maybe try at home or at work.
So grounding techniques are ways that you can get in touch with your mind and body. And these techniques are the cornerstone of mindfulness practices. Some grounding techniques can be quickly performed anytime, anywhere. So you don't need a meditation pillow or a room tricked out with calming decorations on the wall or soothing music.
Mindfulness is a state of being where you direct your attention to your mind and your body. Because it's our human nature to have a wandering mind, mindfulness practices bring us back to the here and now. Instead of falling into patterns of thought distortions or unhelpful thinking, like being stuck in the past or having a lot of worry about the future.
Or you may be playing in your mind about plans for the future, putting together a mental to-do list. But once you notice that your mind is wandering, if you're being mindful, you gently nudge your thoughts back to the present moment.
As we practice mindfulness, we notice our thoughts without judging our thoughts. Here's a perfect example. You may be thinking just about mindfulness practices. Oh, I am no good at mindfulness practice. I should just give up. Or here's another example. Maybe at the workplace, you were in a meeting earlier today and you had a disagreement with someone at work. And maybe you fear that there's some repercussions on your relationship with that person. The practice of mindfulness trains us to come back to the present moment, to the physical sensations you're feeling, and turning your attention there.
So when we are mindful, we're really managing our attention. We become more aware of our thoughts, and the goal is to observe our thoughts without judgment so that we can gently nudge our attention back to the here and now.
And this is why grounding techniques are uber powerful. Think of it as a tool that helps you grow your mindfulness muscle, just like we would build up our biceps by going to the gym. Our rep with a mindfulness practice is directing our attention to the present experience, being the observer of your thoughts, not judging those thoughts, but seeing them just as they are, your opinion, not a fact, and then simply redirecting our attention back.
So today, Sina and I are going to share with you a few of our favorite grounding techniques. These are things that can be done in just a couple of minutes, and they can be used any time you feel like your thoughts are being wound up or spiraling out of control.
So box breathing is one technique we're going to share with you today. Can be done with a short amount of time, again, when you are feeling that source of negative stress. And the reason why this technique is very helpful is because it helps trigger our vagus nerve and in turn activates the part of our nervous system that's the more calming, our parasympathetic nervous system. And this helps turn off those stress hormones like adrenaline, cortisol, our neurohormone signals. So when you're feeling this tension in your body, or circumstance or situation arises that you perceive as negative, this short but effective technique can really be helpful. What the technique involves doing is using a counting. In this example, we're going to give you is a counting of 4. And I'm going to guide you through what it will involve. It involves counting to a 4 on an inhalation. So counting on the inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. You hold 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, and hold 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then you would repeat that 3 more times. So you've done a 4-cycle box breathing technique, 4 by 4 by 4 by 4. Again, short but super effective.
Now, another simple grounding technique that you can use, and something you can do pretty much anywhere, anytime, is to bring your attention to your sense of touch. So, for example, you can just rub the tip of one of your fingers against the tip of your thumb, and you want to be very gentle. You're paying really close to it, so gentle that you can feel the ridges in the skin. And I like to close my eyes because it helps me to really focus my attention, right? The finger with the thumb. Now, you might not be in a position to close your eyes, so you can do this technique while you're having a soft gaze forward, where you're not really focusing on anything in particular, but your mind is focusing on the soft touch between your fingertips and your thumb. Or alternatively, and I like to do this sometimes, you can take your fingers and you can gently move your fingers over the other hand and down to the palm of your hand very gently. Again, focusing your attention. And when your thoughts start to drift off, which they probably will in a minute or two, you just bring your thoughts back to the sensations, back to the sensation of your finger on your hands or your finger on your thumb.
The next grounding technique we want to share is called the body scan. And this is something I incorporate when I teach yoga quite a bit. But even when you're short on time, it could be done fairly quickly, even during work. So you could be seated at work. And if there's something you want to practice doing at home, you might be lying down at home for this technique. And what it involves is turning to the sensations of the body to help you move into the observer seat, while yet noticing the sensations of the body as we move our attention. Typically, we start at the toes and we'll work your way up to the crown of the head. So when we begin at our toes, whether we're seated and the feet are flat or lying down, if you're wearing a shoe, you would actually move your toes, notice your toes, and travel your way up the body, getting to the point where you reach up to your shoulders, maybe noticing and softening there, as we often hold a lot of stress, holding and tightness in the shoulders and into the neck. And again, this whole time as we travel up through the body, noticing the sensations and resulting at the very crown of the head.
And I have one last technique that I'd like to share. And again, it's something that can be done almost anywhere, but I find it's easier to do when I can close my eyes. So it's probably not best that you do this while you're driving. The technique involves listening, really listening to the sounds in the environment. First, you begin by trying to discern the sounds that are the farthest away from you. And if it's a particularly noisy place, you might have some difficulty to determine what's the farthest away, but the idea is try to distinguish between the noises in your environment and try not to interpret them. So if you recognize a sound, you can label it, but just try to move on. So for example, if you hear a car passing by, just note in your mind, oh, that's a car. But then go back to focusing on the sound of the car rather than trying to imagine what the car looks like or how fast the car is going or getting upset that it's probably your neighbor driving too fast through the neighborhood. Instead, when you have those thoughts, just bring your attention back to the sound of the car. And as the car sound fades, try to identify something else that you might find in the environment, something that's the furthest away. And then you start to move in and start to focus on things that are closer to you, so that eventually you're starting to hear sounds that are very close to you, or the sounds that your body is producing, like the sound of your breath or the sound of gurgling in your stomach, or if you're like me, the faint ringing in your ear.
So there you have it. 4 effective and short grounding techniques that you could perform by focusing your attention on your breath, focusing on your sense of touch, the sensations of your body, or the sounds you hear in your environment. All of these techniques can help you reclaim your sense of calm and focus, really just in very few minutes. They don't require any special equipment. And in most cases, you can do this anywhere. So think about this at home and at work.
Now for the experiment. If you haven't tried one of these grounding techniques before, we'd like you to try a few of them. Perhaps one day you perform box breathing, and then the next day you direct your attention to the sounds in your environment. And then perhaps doing a body scan on day 3. And notice how easy or perhaps difficult it is for you to engage in each of these techniques and how you feel afterwards.
The key to feeling more groundedness is to redirect your attention back to the sensation when your mind wanders, and it will. That is really the essence of mindfulness, and that's where repeated practice can help. Your mind will wander. It's normal. It's expected. What you're learning to do is to redirect your thought, to return your focus on what's in the here and now, the present moment, and to be a curious observer. With continued practice, you'll be able to more easily notice your thought without any judgment, simply let them pass, and return to the here and now. So take this opportunity to muscle up your mindfulness.
Aliquots and Experiments is produced by yours truly, Stuart Haynes.
And Sina Haynes. You can find more resources, meditations, yoga, and some reflective essays on our website, Wellbeing Elixir, and the Yoga Apothecary YouTube channel.
And if you're not already a member, please sign up at wellbeingelixir.org and join our community of practice where we explore the ingredients for a vibrant, happy life.
And if you found today's episode helpful, please pass it along to a friend. Namaste.
Namaste.